Baden by Richard Matheson. The package was lying by the front door, a cube-shaped carton sealed with tape, their name and address printed by hand. Mr. and Mrs. Arthur Lewis, 217E, 37th Street, New York, New York 10016. Norma picked up, unlocked the door, and went into the apartment. It was just getting dark. After she put the lamp cups in the broiler, she sat down to open the package. Inside the carton was a push button unit fastened to a small wooden box. A glass dome covered the button. Norma tried to lift it off, but it was locked in place. She turned the unit over and saw folded a piece of paper Scotch tape to the bottom of the box. She pulled it off. Mr. Stewart will call on you at 6. Norma put the button unit beside her on the couch. She reread the typed note, smiling. A few moments later, she went back into the kitchen to make the salad. The doorbell rang at 8 o'clock. I'll get it, Norma called from the kitchen. Arthur was in the living room reading. There was a small man in the hallway. He removed his hat as Norma opened the door. "Mr. Lewis?" he inquired politely. "Yes, I'm Mr. Stewart." "Oh, yes." Norma repressed a smile. She was sure no, it was a sale pitch. "May I come in?" asked Mr. Stewart. "I'm rather busy," Norma said. I'll get you your chama call it too." She started to run. "Don't you want to know what it is?" Norma turned back. Mr. Sherwood's tone had been offensive. "No, I don't think so," she replied. "It could prove very valuable," he told her. "Monetarily?" she challenged. Mr. Stewart nodded. "Monetarily," he said. Norma frowned. She didn't like his attitude. "What are you trying to sell?" she asked. "I'm not selling anything," he answered. Arthur came out of the living room. "Something wrong?" Mr. Stewart introduced himself. "Oh, the other pointed toward the living room and smiled. "What is that gadget, anyway?" "It won't take long to explain," Mr. Sidward replied. "May I come in, if you're selling something?" Arthur said. Mr. Sidward shook his head. "I'm not." Arthur looked at Norma. "Up to you," she said. He hesitated. "Well, why not?" he said. They went into the living room and Mr. Sidward sat in the Norma's chair. He reached into an inside coat pocket and waved through a small sealed envelope. "Inside here is a key to the Bell unit dome," he said. He set the envelope on the chair side table. "The bell is connected to our office." "What's it for?" asked Arthur. "If you push the button," Mr. Sherwood told him, "somewhere in the world someone you don't know will die, in return for which will you receive a payment of 50,000. I mean $50,000. Norma started at this moment. He was smiling. "What are you talking about?" Arthur asked him. Mr. Sherwood looked surprised. "But I have just explained," he said. "Is this a practical joke?" asked Mr. Arthur. "Not at all. The offer is completely genuine." "You are not making sense," Arthur said. "You expect us to believe? Whom do you represent?" demanded Norma. Mr. Sherwood looked embarrassed. "I'm afraid I'm not at the liberty to tell you that," he said. "However, I assure the organization is of international scope. I think you'd better leave," Arthur said, standing. Mr. Sidwood rose. "Of course, and take your button unit with you. Are you sure you would not care to think about it for a day or so?" Arthur picked up the button unit and the envelope and thrust them into Mr. Sidwood's hands. He walked into the hall and pulled open the door. "I will leave my card, Mr. Sidwood." He placed it on the table by the door. When he was gone, Arthur tore it in half and tossed the pieces onto the table. Norma still sitting on the sofa. "What do you think it was?" he asked. "I don't know. I don't care to know," he answered. She tried to smile but could not. "Are you curious at all?" "No," he shook his head. After Arthur returned to his book, Norma went back to the kitchen and finished washing the dishes. "Why won't you talk about it?" Norma asked. Arthur's eyes shifted as the brushes did. He looked at his reflection in the bedroom mirror. Does not it intrigue you? It offends me, Arthur said. I know. Norma rolled another curler in her hair. Does not it intrigue you too? You think it's a practical joke? She asked as they went into the bedroom. If it is the sick one. Norma sat on her bed and took off her slippers. Maybe it's some kind of physiology research. Arthur's truck could be. Maybe some eccentric millionaire is doing it, maybe. Would not you like to know? Arthur shook his head. Why? Because it is immoral, he told her. Norma slid beneath the covers. Well, I think it's intriguing, she said. Arthur turned off the lamp and leaned over to kiss her. Good night, he said. Good night. She patted his back. Norma closed her eyes. $50,000, she thought. In the morning, as she left the apartment, Norma saw the card halves on the table. Impulsively, she dropped them into her purse. She locked the front door and joined Arthur in the elevator. While she was on her coffee break, she took the card half from her purse and held the torn edge together. Only Mr. Sidward's name and the telephone number were printed on the card. After lunch, she took the card half from her purse again, scotch taped the edge together. Why am I doing this? She thought. Just before 5, she dialed the number. Good afternoon, Mrs. Sidward. Norma almost hung up but restrained herself. She cleared her throat. This is Mrs. Lewis, she said. Yes, Mrs. Lewis. What? Mr. Sidward sounded pleased. I'm curious. That's natural, Mr. Sidward said. Not that I believe a word what you told us. Ah, it is quite authentic, Mr. Sidward answered. Well, whatever, Norma swallowed. When you said someone in the world will die, what did you mean? Exactly that. It could be anyone. All we guarantee is that you don't know them. And of course that you would not have to watch them die. For $50,000, Norma said. That's it's correct. She made scoffing sound. That's crazy. Nonetheless, that is the proportion, Mr. Silver said. Would you like me to return the burden you need? Norma stiffened. Certainly not. She hung up angrily. The package was lying by the front door. Norma saw it as she left the elevator. Well, of all the nerve, she thought. She glared at the carton as she unlocked the door. I just won't take it in, she thought. She went inside and started dinner. Later, she went into the front hall. Opening the door, she picked up the package and carried it into the kitchen, leaving it on the table. She sat in the living room, looking out the window. After a while, she went back into the kitchen to turn the cutlass in the broiler. She put the package in the bottom cabinet. She'd throw it out in the morning. Maybe some eccentric millionaire is playing games with people, she said. Arthur looked up for his dinner. I don't understand you. What does char mean? Let it go, he told her. Norma ate in silence. Suddenly, she put her fork down. Suppose it is a genuine offer, she said. Arthur stared at her. Suppose it's genuine offer? All right, if suppose it is. He looked incredulous. What would you like to do? Get the button back and push it? Murder someone? Norma looked disgusted. Murder? How would you define it? If you don't even know the person, Norma said. Arthur looked astounded. Are you saying what I think you are? If it is some old Chinese peasant 10,000 miles away, someone this is native in Congo, how about a baby boy in a Pennsylvania? Arthur countered. Some beautiful little girl on the next block? Now you are loading things. The point is, Norma, he continued. What is the difference whom you kill? It is still murder. The point is, Norma broke in. If someone you have never seen in your life and never will see, someone whose death you don't even have to know about, you still would not push the button. Arthur stared at her, appalled. You mean for what? $50,000, Arthur. Was What has the amount? $50,000, Arthur. Norma interrupted. A chance to take that trip to Europe we have always talked about. Norma, no. A chance to buy that cottage on the island. Norma, no. His face was white. She shuddered. All right, take it easy, she said. Why are you getting so upset? It's only talk. After dinner, Arthur went into the living room. Before he left the table, he said, I'd rather not discuss it anymore, if you don't mind. Norma said, fine with me. She got up earlier than usual to make a pancake, eggs, and bacon for Arthur's breakfast. What is the occasion? He asked with a smile. No occasion, Norma looked up. I wanted to do I wanted to do it, that's all. Good. I'm glad you did. She replied her scalp. Wanted to show you I'm not. She shrugged. Not what? Selfish. Did I say you were? Well, she gestured vaguely last night. Arthur didn't speak. All they talked about at the button, Norma said. I think you mis- misunderstood me. In what way? His voice was guarded. I think you felt, said Kessler again, that I was only thinking of myself. I wasn't, Norma. Well, I wasn't when I talk about Europe, a cottage on the island. Norma, why are we getting so involved in this? I'm not involved at all. She drew the shaking breath. I'm simply trying to indicate that. What? That I like for us to go to Europe, like for us to having a cottage on the island, like for us to have a nicer apartment, nicer furniture, nicer clothes, a car, like for us to finally have a baby, for that matter. Norma, we will, he said. When? He stared at her in dismay. Norma, when? Are you? He seemed to draw back slightly. Are you really saying? I'm saying that they are probably doing it for some research projects. She cut him off. That they want to know what a French people would do under such a circumstance. That they are just saying someone will die in order to study reaction. See if they're big guilty anxiety. That they are just saying someone will die in order to study reaction. See if that big guilty anxiety, whatever. You don't think that will help somebody, do you? Arthur didn't answer. She saw his hand trembling. After a while he got up and left. When he'd gone to work, Norma remained at the table staring into her coffee. I'm going to be late, she thought. She shrugged. What difference did it make? She should be home anyway, not working in an office. While she was stacking dishes, she turned abruptly, dried her hands, and took the package from the button cabinet. Opening it, she set the button unit on the table. She stared at it for a long time before taking the key from the envelope and removing the glass dome. She stared at the button. How ridiculous, she thought. All this furor over a meaningless button. Reaching out, she pressed it down. For us, she thought angrily. She shuddered. Was it happening? A chill for the horror swept across her. In a moment it has passed. She made a contemptuous noise. Ridiculous, she thought. To get so work over nothing. She threw the button unit, dome, and key into the wash basket and hurried to dress for work. She had just turned over the supper sticks when the telephone rang. She picked up the receiver. Hello, Mrs. Lewis? Yes, this is the Lenox Hill Hospital. She felt unreal as the voice informed her of the subway accident, the shoving crowd. Arthur paused the front platform in the front of the train. She was conscious of shaking her head but could not stop. As she hung up, she remembered Arthur's life insurance policy for 25,000 with double indemnity for. No, she could not seem to breathe. She struggled her feet and walked into the kitchen numbly. Something cold pressed at her skull as she removed the button unit from the wash basket. There were no nails or screws invisible. She could not see how it was put together. A Abruptly, she began to smash it on the sink edge, pounding it harder and harder until the wood spilled. She pulled the sides apart, cutting her fingers without noticing. There were no transistors in the box, no wires or tubes. The box was empty. She whirled with a gasp as the telephone rang. Stumbling into the living room, she picked up the receiver. "Mr. Lewis?" "Mrs. Lewis?" Mr. Seward asked. It wasn't, her voice shaking so it could not be. "No, I said I would not know. The one that died." "My dearly lady," Mr. Seward said, "do you really think you knew your husband?" Finish.